Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. In this video today, I bought a little, upgraded my grandson from his little Chinese semi-automatic bike to a XR80 Honda. It's a 4-stroke, it's a clutch bike, it's a little bigger, fits him better. He's outgrown that little one, so we had to upgrade him, but it's a 95, and you can see what these plastics look like. I don't know if you can see the scratches, and you can see right here there's some scratches. There's a pretty good gouge in it right there. We need to clean these plastics up and restore them, and that's kind of what we're going to do in this video today. We're going to try to get rid of the worst of these scratches and get this cleaned up, and we'll sand it. And we'll show you how we restore our plastics on a dirt bike. It works for a dirt bike or a quad or anything that's got plastics on it like this. You can use the same procedure. So we're going to see if we can't make these look a little nicer. They'll never look brand new again, but we can make them look a lot nicer than this. You know, I mean, so like this dirty look here. That's really not just dirt. I mean, that's grime that's kind of inset itself right into the plastic, and you can scrub on that and it won't clean up. I mean, it's a 95, so it's been around a while, so that's not just dirt, that's like faded plastic also. So the way we're going to do this is, the first thing we'll do is we're going to take this. I got this window, it's a scraper, but it has like a blade, like a razor blade in it. And I've seen guys take just the blade and scrape, but having it in this with this handle, I can just kind of hold it like this, and it makes it a lot nicer for me to scrape on it. But what you'll do, if you can see here, see this really dirty area right here? Watch this. And what this does is, not only does it take that layer of grime off, but it also will take these scratches down. And you just stand it straight up, or you can lean it forward a little, but you don't want to come at it like this. You'll gouge into your plastic and make it worse. You want to lean it sort of this way. You can lean it forward, and it will just scrape. And you're just kind of scraping a fine little film, you know, maybe 1/1000th or so of an inch of plastic off of there. And see, like some of these bigger scratches, you're probably not going to get those out all the way, but you can get rid of most of the lighter scratches and all of this sun damage and dirt and stuff that's in there, like this right here. See how that's kind of dirty and scratched? Well, you come across that with this, and you see that'll take out those lighter scratches. You see, there's a whole process to this. This is just the first part of the process. Later, when we're done doing this, we'll come back with some sandpaper and we'll sand it. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll clean on this for a while, and then we'll come back and later on and we'll sand it. all the scraping we're going to do on this thing, I think. We got the worst of the scratches out of it. Some of them are deep enough you'd have to take too much plastic out of there to, and then you'd have a big divot there. But we got most of the lighter scratches out. So now we're going to take some 400 grit sandpaper here, and we're going to wet sand this, and we'll move up the grits from there. So we'll get started on that now. Alright guys, so we got this front fender about half done. Here's the back of it. We haven't done anything to it yet. We washed it is all. And you can see how it's still got that kind of a dingy, grimy look to it. And then here's the front part of the fender that we have done with the we went back to a 320. I started with a 400, but it just wasn't quite enough, so we went back and dropped down to a 320, and that's got all that black dinginess and taking some of them heavier scratches out of there. You can still see here a little scratch right there. There's one right there. Some of these were quite deep. So, if you keep scraping on it with the knife or with the blade, then you end up when you get done sanding, you'll have like a swale right there, kind of a dip. And that doesn't look much better, but you can see here just this little scratch is still showing up a little bit. There were some pretty deep little nicks and gouges and scratches in this fender. We're not going to get it all out. If you took it and just left it like this and put it back on the bike, you're way ahead of the game compared to the dingy, crap that we had there. Because that grime, you can take even a scrubber pad and scrub that with soap and water, and it'll never come off of there. It's in the plastic, so you actually have to sand this. And the knife, the blade is just to scrape off some of the plastics where these big heavy scratches were, and bring that down a little bit. And like I say, you can make the smaller scratches disappear, but some of these bigger ones, they're going to be there. But the fender's going to look so much nicer once it's all cleaned up. Now we got a lot more to do. We're only at 320 grit. I got to finish this back side here of the fender with the 320. Then we'll move up to our 400 again. And we'll just keep moving up through the stages till we get to 1,000 grit. And then once we're at 1,000 grit, we'll move on to the next stage. We'll take a heat gun and we'll heat this plastic, and that'll just bring the shine right back to it. So let's get after it. So here we are, guys, after the 400. We've done 320 and 400 grit on this fender. And you could almost just put this back on the bike right now the way it is, and you're looking a whole bunch better than what it was. I don't know how well this is showing up on there. You can still see some minor scratches in it. We're never going to get those all out, like I said. But that's a pretty clean white fender. And we're going to go ahead and hit it with probably at least up to 600. We've still got a little bit of grime right in this crack here that we didn't quite get out on both sides, right where that right here where the fender flares out. You get right in that little valley there. It's kind of hard to get to. We need to hit that just a little bit more, but overall that's coming out real nice. Now you can see right in here this yellow dirty looking mess. That's what most of the whole fender looked pretty bad like that. So it's coming out pretty nice. We'll hit it with a couple more grits up and then we'll hit it with the heat gun and show you how it comes out. Alright guys, we got this thing. I sanded it to 400. It's pretty smooth. I don't think I'm going to try it at 400 and see, because I ain't gonna lie, that wet sand in this whole fender, like, that's a lot of work. So we're gonna go ahead and heat this front parts with the torch, get it nice and shiny. You just kind of go over it. You don't want to melt it all up, but what it does is it just melts that surface enough to bring the color back out, and it kind of blends that little fuzzies that you have left over from sanding. And then you hit it right away with some cold water. I got my brother here with a water hose so you can hit it after I get it all. The thing is, you can't just do a little part of it, because then when you come back to do the next part, you're going to mess that part up. So we got to do this whole entire front half of this fender, then we'll do this back half after we do that. So let's see what we can do here. Is this on?
You have to turn it on.
Turn it down. There we go. What the heck? Suppose we got just enough of a breeze out here that it doesn't want to light.
We just couldn't hear it.
You have to hold this down.
It's just a strike.
Alright, let's see what happens here. It's starting to shine up pretty good. Oop. Burned it a little bit. Either that or that's just some of that grunge coming out. Hit it. Alright, let's see.
Sure, yeah, I think it shined. I think you did burn this one.
Yeah. Yeah, you really can't hold that on there too long. You can see right here where it's starting to burn it just a little bit. But you get the idea. Once you get it kind of slicks up the top layer of that plastic, and then it'll be pretty shiny. But if you just let it cool off on its own, it'll kind of dull back up and you end up having to buff it. But if you get it shiny and then hit it with that water, it'll hold that shine that it has because it cools it off quickly. Here, cool it down a little bit more. So yeah, I think that's going to look pretty good. I've ordered some graphics for this anyway. It does feel smoother.
It does.
I ordered some graphics to put on this bike anyway, so most of the fender is going to be covered with graphics. So we'll get this back part done here. Should I just leave that running and point it off over there? That's a hell of a blast when you let that go.
Yeah. It's good.
God. This wind out here is just killing us. Let's go around that side over there and see if it's a little better. Alright guys, we moved inside the shop where I can see this plastic shine. This white's hard to see outside, so I'm in here where I can see it. We're going to try this again. I've got a big bucket of water to dip it in, so let's give this another shot. I think I had my torch turned up too high the first try too. We may need to go higher grit in the sandpaper because some of this isn't wanting to shine up too well because of it's still pretty rough. Yeah, we probably should have gone a little bit more, a little bit higher grit on the sandpaper. But it's not terrible. And like I said, I ordered a set of graphics for these. So we're going to be doing graphics on them anyway. But that's shined up pretty nice. See, that torch just melts the outer layer of that where it was rough from the sandpaper. Just enough that it just melts that just enough and gets it pulled on that just that outside part. You hurry up and dip it. I think I'm satisfied with that. I mean, it's not going to be perfect. It's not, you know, you could order brand new plastics and they'd be perfect again, but been having a kind of a hard time finding the plastics for this bike. And I hate to order them and have them be the wrong ones. So, as you can see, that shined up pretty nice. Look how shiny that thing is. And I mean, in the right light, you can still see some little scratches in it and that. But that's way better than the ugliness that was on there when I first took this fender off of this bike this morning. So, anyway, just wanted to make a quick little video to show you guys. Now, I mean, it's not super terrible to do. I mean, it takes a little elbow grease. I'm not gonna lie, it's not real easy to sand one of these out, but it wasn't horrible. I probably worked. I'm gonna go ahead and do this back part of this fender again and get it a little shinier, but I probably worked an hour and a half on this fender, all told, taking little breaks in between and what have you. So, but you can see how much better this fender looks than it did. Look at how shiny it is now. And that's without all that extra buffing and everything. You can buff it afterwards and get it even better. But it's a dirt bike, you know, and it's going to get out and get scraped up and everything again. But I just wanted to look nice for my grandson to start out on it. And we'll have graphics that covers a lot of the fenders and what have you anyway. So there you have it. Shining up the plastics, renewing the plastic, refurbishing the plastics on a dirt bike or a quad or a four-wheeler, whatever you have. If it's got plastic fenders in that, it all works the same. So, but see, you can see the light shining in that fender the whole way now. And the back, I might just leave it alone. It looks pretty good. It's pretty shiny. And see, this whole thing was dull and dirty and nasty, and so we got to do the same thing to the rear fender, the tank, and the number plate on the front. The side plates I think are pretty good. We can just wash them up, clean them up a little bit, and they'll be getting some graphics on them too. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope it helped some of you guys out. Might be looking to clean up your old dirt bike plastics. That fender looks like it's 20 years newer. Alright guys, so you can see the difference. Here's the rear fender. It's got a sticker on it, but you can see this grime, and you can't wash that off. It will not wash off. It's ground right like into the plastic. And then that's what this front fender looked like, and that's what it looks like now. So you can see the difference. I mean, that compared to that rear fender, this front fender looks like a brand new fender. And all we did was work on it for about an hour and a half with some sand, wet sand. You have to wet sand it, otherwise your sandpaper will get gummed up with that plastic, and you can't, you know, it just, you go through 100 sheets of sandpaper. So you have to use, I just used a little soapy water with some dish soap and wet sanded it, and that's what she looks like now. And then after that, hit it with that torch and then dip it in cold water right away and lock in that shine. Looks like a whole new fender, doesn't it? That's amazing. I mean, the difference. And that back one will look just like this when I'm done with it. Then what it was, a 25-year-old bike, so that's a lot of years of grime and sun beating on it and stuff. The sun is what's worse on these plastics than anything. You know, if you have a dirt bike or a four-wheeler or something with plastic fenders and that on it, you need to cover it up or put it in the garage, you know, or something like that, and that'll save your plastics a ton. And just putting a little armor all on them, I've found over the years too helps. So, but if you got one that's bad, it's that bad that you can't wash it. I mean, I couldn't even wash the dirt off of that with the scrubber pad on the with one of these scrubbers on the sponge. It didn't do anything. It took the exterior dirt off, but that real dark stuff was just like right in the plastic. And the only way to get that off is to sand it out. So like I said, we only went to 400 grit on this fender too. You could go higher, 6, 8, 1,000. I've seen some guys doing it up to 1,000 grit. One guy was doing it up to 2,000 grit. It was so shiny by the time he got done, he didn't really need to do much else to it. So, but that's a lot of elbow grease. And if you don't want to work that freaking hard, you know, it all depends on what you want. So there it is. We stopped at 400 grit on that, and it shined up pretty good. And we're going to go ahead and put graphics on it and all that, and I think my grandson will love it. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you're all having a good summer. Stay safe out there. Always be careful when you're working in your shop. Be sure and use your protective gear and that when necessary. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please do. Leave a little button down here for you to subscribe, and check out some of my other videos. We got a lot of shop videos of all sorts, mostly knife making and forging and what have you, but check some of them out. You may like them. Thanks again for watching. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you on the next one.